What lies behind these faces? What lives have we passed? What awaits us in the future? What are the stories we hold inside? Who are we? Perhaps we have been through much, and perhaps we live difficult lives, but we also bond together very closely, and we have our own joyous moments. Although under oppression, Iranian women are not homogeneous. Iran itself is full of diversities. We come from many different backgrounds, different religions, languages, and cultures. We have come a long way from Iran to Canada. Canada is now our home. We each have a unique way of seeing Canada, with our criticisms, complaints, and also admirations. I am an Iranian woman. My name is Fatemeh. I married my first husband in Iran when I was 18. I have 2 children. After 6 years of living together, my husband got kidney problems and died.
I am 35 years old. I've been married for 12 years. I've got 2 kids. One is 12 and the other is 6. I have a university degree in agriculture. I worked in a factory in Iran for 2 years. It was a textile factory. I was also a sewing machine repair person for a while.
My name is Kokab. I have 5 children. 4 of them are in Iran, and 1 is here. I came here to visit the one who is here, but with great difficulties, and after a very long time. Then, since it is really difficult to come to Canada for visiting my loved ones, I applied for becoming an immigrant of Canada. Of course, my son-in-law and my daughter helped a lot.
It's about 3 or maybe even more than 3 years that I am here. My sister wasn't here at first. It took her 6 months to come. I was with my nephew for this time. After 6 months, my sister joined us. Now we are all here together.
I was a teacher in Iran. I retired from work after the revolution, and then I came here. I've been here 3 years now. I spent 1 year in Turkey. It was very difficult. Now I'm living in Canada with my children.
In regard to the difficulties that immigrant women have, I think there is something that the Canadian government does not pay enough attention to. This concerns the problem of language. They only give a 5-month class for immigrant women, only teaching us the basics of language. This only prepares us for low-paying jobs.
The only problem that I have here is with the language. Otherwise, I really like it here. In Iran, I used to do everything on my own. I worked, raised my children alone, and didn't really have any problem in my public life. But here, in this society, I need help everywhere and all the time.
My problems here, well, my biggest problem here is the language. It is very difficult for me. I can't talk with anyone. I can't understand the TV or radio and can't read the newspaper.
Well, the most fundamental problem here is the problem of language. This is a problem that I have not been able to solve yet.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
Can I help me? Where is migration office?
Pardon me?
Where is migration office?
I'm sorry, I don't have time, ma'am. I've got a rush. I'm sorry.
Migration office. Excuse me, sir. Can you help me? Where is migration office?
Immigration.
Immigration
Yes,
office,
it's up
yes.
on Broadway, I think. Oh no, wait, it's on it's at Helmkin and Howe. Helmkin and Howe.
Pardon? I don't understand.
Okay. It's you go maybe 3-4 blocks down this way, south. You know, I think that's south, and then or
South.
southwest, and then you take a right turn on
Right
Helmkin
turn.
Street, and it should be maybe a block on the left side or
Left side.
maybe the right. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. اگه نفهمیدم چی گفتی چقدر که انگلیسی یاد گرفتم turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left.
من حدود 4 ساله که به ونکوور کانادا آمدم. در بعد به ورود به اینجا شوهرم
I came to Vancouver, Canada about 4 years ago. Fortunately, my husband was able to find a job in his field. I started to learn English until we realized that we couldn't continue with only my husband working. In Iran, I had finished my studies in biology. I got my degree in biology in Tehran University.
من 3 سال و نیمه که به ونکوور اومدم. یعنی به طور کلی به
I've been in Vancouver for 3.5 years, so I've been in Canada for this amount of time. I came with my husband and a 4-year-old child. We both found it very difficult to find a job here, to the extent that I wanted to go back to Iran. If we wanted to continue as such, we would have had a very difficult life ahead. I've studied fish breeding management in England.
بیماری‌های ماهی رو خوندم توی انگلیس.
من در حال حاضر یک کار پارت تایم دارم، یعنی کاری که تا ساعت
Right now, I have a part-time job. It's a job which takes my time until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. When I finish work at 3, I get the children from school and then come home.
و در حقیقت کار دوم
In fact, my real job starts from that time.
که به دنبال کار
This work takes at least 5 or 6 hours on top of my first job,
شستشوی ظرف‌ها،
washing the dishes, preparing food for dinner, preparing the children's school needs for the coming day.
بچه‌ها.
من فعلا هنوز کار پیدا نکردم.
I haven't found a job yet, and I'm at home. So the responsibility of housework and rearing the children is with me. My husband is working. But in terms of having a division of labor between us, I don't have any problem. Because when my husband comes home, he always does any work that might be left. When we eat dinner, he takes the dishes and washes them if I'm with the children or busy with something. We don't have to get into who does what between us. In many cases, I don't even notice when and how some of the work gets done.
I think that people grow up and live in different conditions. Therefore, when they get together to start a new life, this itself becomes the basis of differences. If these differences are not handled properly, problems can be made for both the man and the woman.
ولی گاهی وقتا پیش می آمد
But
که
sometimes, when it was necessary for just my husband to go to work, he didn't have to worry about our child because that responsibility was mine. He would go to work with peace of mind.
For example, my husband and I have different approaches to many things, such as how to raise the kids and housework. We have different opinions, This has caused me to think that my husband is not fully capable of doing the work given to him. Things like washing the dishes or taking care of the kids. He can't do these things by my standards. As a result, I have taken the responsibility myself. This has two effects. On the one hand, there will be too much responsibility on the woman's shoulders, while on the other hand, the man thinks he isn't capable of doing housework, which of course makes things easier for him anyways. I really don't find the person who is my supervisor competent enough in her job. She is always ordering me around while I have 12 or 13 years of work experience. Why? Because she thinks that we come from an uncivilized country. In the place where I used to work, a woman brought her child who was about 2-3 years old. The child started to cry immediately. When we asked the mother why the child was crying, she responded, "My child is afraid of black-haired people. She doesn't like dark-colored people."
In regard to this society and whether or not I have much contact with people in Vancouver, I have to say no, not much. I only have 1 or 2 Canadian friends, because through experience I felt that they don't like us, since we're from the Middle East. I have several examples. For instance, on my first day in the school where I used to work, I asked one of my colleagues about the kind of backgrounds the children had. She responded with quite a negative attitude, that we have 2 blacks, 2 Orientals, and I concluded that, well, not just from that instance, but also from other personal experiences, that she doesn't like people of other countries. I'm 29. I've been married for 10 years. I have 2 children, and it's 2 years since I've come to Canada. I was born in a very traditional family, and my activities have always been very limited. For example, when I was in school, my father wouldn't even allow me to buy books and school supplies on my own.
I'm 24. I've been married for 8 years. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and we're now expecting another baby. I came to Canada about a year ago. I came only because my husband insisted. I didn't have any desire to come here. Right now I feel very lonely. I don't have any contact with anyone, anywhere.
It's about 8 years that I have been married. I have a 6-year-old son. I have a university degree in chemistry. I've been a high school teacher for 4 years in Iran. This was a girls' high school. It's 2 years I'm in Canada. Right now I am taking English classes and I'm not working.
The reason I got married was to become free and more independent in life, to have a better life. But this wasn't the case. Things turned out the opposite of what I expected. My life didn't get better, it became worse. My husband forced the same orders and the same limitations on me that my father did before. On top of those, I also became responsible for a house and 2 kids.
Well, of course there are lots of difficulties and problems here. One example is that although my husband goes out with his friends himself to pubs, nightclubs, and to watch strippers, he keeps me restricted to the house. Once even had a big fight with me because I wore shorts.
I think that our problems as immigrant women are nothing new. We have had these problems from Iran and from many years ago. But because the conditions are not there in Iran, I mean, society is closed and restricted compared to other places, these problems wouldn't reveal themselves as much. But out of the country, because a woman has the possibility of getting out of the household, these problems come up more easily.
سکو با این قیافه قراره بریم؟
یعنی چی؟ این چشه؟
این چی به تنت چسبیده؟ تمام تنت معلومه.
این به تنم چسبیده؟ این کجاش به تنم چسبیده؟
برو خانم، برو اینو عوضش کن. با این قیافه جلو مردم آبرو داریم، آبرومون میره.
برو بابا تام. حالا بعض مدت میخوایم بری بیرون، ایراد میگیره. حالا چی؟ خوبه دیگه؟
تو امشب خل شدی، زده به کلت، طوریته.
نه که نمیخوای بگه اینم ایراد داره دیگه.
این انقدر نازکه انگار هیچی تن نکردی. یه چرخ بزن ببینم. باسنت همچی زده بیرون که بیا تماشا کن. این لباس از کجا خریدی؟ این چه رنگ جلفیه که این داره دیگه؟ بابا تو هم دیگه پاک شوشو در آوردی، همون سر سینت معلومه. دیگه نمیدونم اصلا به چی بگم. دیگه چی میتونم بگم؟
حالا دیگه یه چیزی پوشیدم که دیگه بابا میلته. چیه این خوبه؟ چرا چیزی نمیگی؟ دیگه چه ایرادی داره؟ ببینم رنگش اشتباهه یا سینه هم زده بیرون، باسن هم بیرونه؟ یا اینکه دیگه کوتاهه یا اینکه به تنم چسبیده ها؟ چرا چیزی نمیگی؟
بالاخره از روی ناچاری تصمیم گرفتم که امریکا بیام.
Finally, I decided to go to the States. I went there and lived with my daughter. But I was very worried for my son. My son returned to Iran. He left the country several times in order to get a visa to the States, but unfortunately he was rejected every time. He decided to go to Belgium and become a refugee there since the Iran was very dangerous. I was very worried for him, but I didn't have any choice because he couldn't get a visa. My son is now a refugee in Belgium. Later I heard that he had great difficulties in Belgium. He had gone through so much in the refugee camp that he had become sick. I found his sister's letters by accident. I then realized that my son had been in the hospital for 2 months. He had written that there in the cold winter, hot water wasn't available. They told him to take baths with cold water in that cold weather that Belgium has. I cried and wept day and night. I begged God day and night. God, I had put aside all my youth and all my life joys for this child. Please help him. I can't do anything. I can't return. I had also made my daughter's life miserable. I used to cry every day. I had no way of helping my son. Finally, my son got informed about my conditions. He wrote a letter for me. He told me, "Mother, don't be so impatient. We must both have patience. I know that you are there and I'm in trouble here, but I don't have a visa and you can't return. Only those can help their children who are Canadian immigrants."
From the time I get up in the morning, I spend my time with my children and grandchildren. Also, sometimes I do sewing. And that's all. And occasionally we go shopping in the mall with my daughter.
That first 6 months was very difficult for me in Canada. I was alone all the time. My nephew would go to university early in the morning until night. I was alone at home. Well, it's all past now.
بالاخره به خاطر پسرم تصمیم گرفتم که با این آقا که سنن جای پدرم هست.
Finally, because of my son, I agreed to marry to this man who is like my father in age. He had given me many promises about bringing my son here to Canada. I thought it will be okay. I will take care of this man like a nurse and he will bring my son here instead. But unfortunately, this man never lived up to any of his promises. He didn't do anything for me. Time after time, I talked to him, begged him, but nothing changed. After waiting for 2 years, I ran out of patience. I asked him directly about his promises. What happened to them? His answer was swearing at me things that I don't even expect a jerk to say. I couldn't stand it anymore. Although I was alone with many difficulties, couldn't speak any English, didn't know anyone, I decided not to continue living like that. On the same day, this man abandoned me with a lot of anger. He told me that now I will leave you so that you know who I was, and so that you don't dare to speak to me like this again. I didn't believe it first, but the next day I found out that he had gone to the States, and he sent me a court notice for evacuating the house, which was under his son's name. I had to move out in 5 days. God knows how I passed those days and nights. Only God knows. After a couple of days, my friends pitied me and helped me. I didn't know legal assistance, aid, those things. They took me there, and now I continue my life with lots of difficulties.
I didn't know anything about sexual relationships before. From the first night of my marriage, my husband treated me in a way that was exactly like rape. This rape hasn't ever stopped. It continued every night and every night. This was very difficult for me then, and even now, I still never have any desire for these sexual relationships. When there's a problem between us, my husband, he gets bitter at night and upsets me more. He doesn't understand that problems don't get solved with this. Instead of talking together, he just makes me sad.
I believe that even those men who are concerned about women's issues or think they can help in solving these issues sometimes forget how to deal with women and support women in getting ahead. We women must watch men with open eyes so that men can't step out of their own boundaries.
I have the same problems that I had in Iran, plus some new ones. Well, it is better for me here in some respects, but worse in other respects. It is better in that it's a new society. It has caused internal changes in me. But my husband is, on the other hand, more difficult here. He thinks that the conditions here might make me a feminist. Because of this, he threatens me a lot. He even threatens to commit suicide, to kill the children, and he tells me things that are really upsetting.
The freedom that is here, the aid that the government offers families, well, I think there's no other country like this. I can say that I like Canada for the standard of living it offers people.
Although I am still only 24, I feel nothing is left in my life. My only wish is for my children to have a better future. Perhaps our daughters can get rid of our miseries. It's too late now for us, really, and can't change anything.